What is up, YouTube? Bobbles and Ball Cards back with another video. Hope you're all having a wonderful weekend out there. If you're back enjoying football, hope your team's doing well. Mine is sitting at 500 with yet another disappointing loss after having a large lead 4 weeks into the year, and we are 2-2, and both losses should have been wins, but you know, that's how it rolls. Anyway, if you enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you have not, and comment down below because this is always a fun topic. We're going to talk about grading. First, I want to give a shout out to Gemrate. Wonderful work done over there. If you're not following them, please go give them a follow. They also have the website, gemrate.com. Data is posted there as well. But on Instagram, I don't mess around with Twitter much. I think he posted on Twitter as well. But anyway, a lot of good information there. Does amazing work with the daily numbers, the weekly numbers, and then, of course, the monthly numbers. So I had actually already done a video kind of discussing this, but at the time I was estimating SGC's numbers because that was the ones I was more focused on. And I decided not to release it because I didn't want to speculate on anything. And I actually had them overestimated a little bit. I thought they were going to come in at like 72 to 74,000 this month. And they, as you'll see, they wound up coming in at 69,000. That could be potentially because they had a day where they were closed due to the hurricane and everything. So, but anyway, I'm glad I didn't because I have a lot of fun numbers here to share with you guys. One reason I enjoy this stuff isn't just for like to see what the grading companies are doing. I'll go in here and show you. Like, you know, this is easy to see. Like, PSA obviously does the most cards. No question there, right? But you kind of get an idea, and this is August numbers, by the way, but you kind of get an idea, like, of what company is getting cards and which ones are maybe lagging behind. You kind of see where demand is flowing. That's something in the card space we don't always see. We know that, like, you know, Topps Chrome, Prism, Select, Optic, all of that is printed, but we don't know which brand people are buying more of. Or, you know, we can see eBay has a ton of cards on there, but we don't necessarily know which ones are being collected more or ripped more. You know, you got people that sit on wax and, you know, all kinds of, you know, different things. So this kind of breaks that down in a sense of company. So it tells us a good story, but you can look further into it. And there's a lot of data here. Like this shows the sports only. This shows TCG. You know, items graded by week in 2022 goes all the way back to the first of the year. This is excluding PSA. This is kind of a fun one here. Shows how the companies are kind of like an up and down. They're never flat. They're kind of like bouncing around each week. Kind of interesting. This breaks it down by category for the month, you know, all the different stuff here. This gives your gem rates by era. You know, you can see here which company is given more gems than others, so to speak. Now, obviously, you got to do a little bit of math in here because this doesn't tell a full story. You know, Beckett having a 59.5% gem rate, well, that could be swayed because, like, they did less cards or whatever, you know. So it doesn't tell a full picture. Obviously, sometimes the more you do, the lower the number gets. But the interesting thing with this one is it shows that the companies that have the 9.5 give a lower percentage of gems than the companies. Obviously, Beckett has a 9.5. Their scale is all weird. The 9.5 is the gem, and then they have two 10s, whereas SGC CSG has two 10s, but the 9.5 is a mint plus and not a gem mint, so to speak, if that makes any sense. So, and then, you know, there's lots of information here. Percentage of items, like who's doing more ultra modern, etc., or a bulk of their stuff. So a lot of fun data, but I want to break it down even further because there's like seeing it month to month. You know, here's September's. That's all cool. Seeing it day to day, that's cool. Seeing it week to week, that's cool. Let's look at it over a larger picture. And what I did is I did April, May, June, and then I did a quarterly total here, and then July, August, September, and I did a quarterly total here. I have all four companies. I did not split CSG and CGC. I left them as one entity because the others don't have their TCG separated. So, I wanted to just look at it as a company and not like individual CGC and CSG. And what this tells us is basically, before I get into it, spoiler alert, PSA, like, there's not even a close competition for PSA. Not even close. The numbers are actually crazy on how much more PSA does. So, but what I wanted to see is, based on the April, May, June numbers, where are companies sitting after this past quarter, July, August, September? Fiscal years normally start for companies beginning in July, so this would be kind of a first quarter fiscal number in most businesses anyway. So kind of like look and see, what does the grading landscape look like? How many cards are being graded? What's the hobby look like? And then what are the companies themselves looking like? There's been a lot of different changes with, the backlogs clearing up. You've had Beckett did a 20% discount for a month. PSA had an $18 special in July. CSG is going to be doing a 20% discount for the month of October. So there's been a lot of different things playing involved here. You have products releasing, finally getting the Prism basketballs and the footballs and the selects and the optics and all that stuff has started to come out. So has it adjusted anything? Like, where are we at in the hobby today? What companies are strong? Which companies have softened a bit? And just kind of looking over everything. So I'm going to run through this real quick, and then we'll discuss on some of these numbers. So PSA in April did 826,000. SGC was 94,000. Beckett was 79,000. The CSG CGC combo was 132,000. That gave us a total for the month of April of 1,133,000 cards. Jump over to May, it was 889 for PSA, 96,000 for SGC, 88,000 for Beckett, 157,000 for CSG CGC. If you notice this month, everybody went up, so May had a strong increase for all four companies, and that brought the total number up for the month to 1,230,000 cards. The following month in June, PSA did 887,000, SGC did 100,000, Beckett dipped down to 72,000, CSG CGC had a surge up to 176,000. So PSA dropped by a small margin, 2,000 cards. Beckett dropped by 16,000 cards, but SGC and then CSG CGC rose, which gave us actually 5,000 more cards for the month of June, for a total of 1,235,000 cards. On the 3-month totals, it put PSA at a mark of 2,602,000. SGC did 290,000. Beckett did 239,000. CSG CGC did 465,000 for a total of 3,598,000 cards. So incredible numbers there. Now let's go over to the last 3 months, and that would be July, August, September. So PSA in July, that was the $18 special. A lot of people said that was like huge for them. Recently we know that the backlog should be cleared out. There's been questions. How would the demand be? Would their numbers drop? What will we see? I think the next 3 months, the October, November, December, will be even more interesting, because I want to see how it plays out for all of the companies. I want to see how the hobby reacts with the holidays coming up, that sort of thing. You should see pricing and turnarounds and all that being more, like PSA turnarounds running both operations, East Coast, West Coast. We should have a good idea of like what turnaround times they're going to be hitting. Beckett's in a new facility. We should get a better idea of their growth, or like what their turnarounds are going to be. So a lot should be shaken out over the next 3 months, but this gives us another picture to look at what we're heading into. So, but for July, PSA had 1,001,000. SGC did 54,000. That was a huge drop for that month for them. Beckett was unknown, so this kind of skews our numbers a little bit, but they were unknown because they were doing some website pop report updating. And then CSG CGC did 153,000. But the interesting thing here is for the month of July, there was 1,208,000 with missing Beckett's numbers. So just like 27,000 less. So even if we said Beckett did 27,000, we would have been equal on June because of the surge in PSA, even with the decline of SGC. Like SGC was 46,000 less. CSG CGC was 23,000 less. So you had what was that, 69,000 less cards right there. And then Beckett didn't even have a card on the books, and the number was still close for the total, even without having Beckett in there. So that was pretty interesting. In August, PSA declined back, and I say declined lightly, but they were at 895,000. That was still more than their June number, so keep that in mind. So even if this $18 special bumped this number, they still were higher in August than they were in June. SGC recovered slightly at 75,000. They were still 25,000 less than June. Beckett came in with a number of 41,000 after they corrected, did all their updating and stuff. And then CSG recovered back. They went up 18,000 to a total of 171, which was only 5,000 less than June. That gives us a number of 1,182,000 for the month of August. So, interestingly enough, the PSA dip dropped the total number down, even though some of these other companies went up in their previous month's numbers. So it didn't recover fully. Why is this interesting? Why am I talking about how interesting it is? We'll get to that. So September, PSA went up to 1,083,000. SGC dipped a little bit. I told you I thought they were going to be at 72, 74. They might have been, but I do know the hurricane impacted at least one day of service. So they came in at 69,000. Beckett showed a number of 63,000. And CSG CGC, they dropped by nearly half. I mean, they were at 171,000, and they only did 90,000. But for the month, it was still a very strong month at 1,305,000 cards graded. So, on a 3-month total, you had PSA at 2,979,000. That puts them up 377,000 cards over April, May, and June. So when people were talking about is PSA's numbers running off the backlog because they had cards there, the answer right now, I would argue, is no, because they're still increasing. They're still growing over the quarter. Their numbers have still grown by, over 300,000 cards. So that's pretty impressive. SGC, they dropped by 92,000 cards. Poor Beckett, we didn't have a month in here, but they were at 135,000 down. We could play this number all we wanted, but we don't know what they would have done this month. So, I'm not going to sit here and speculate, but their number was down 135, but that was based off 2 months, not 3. So, and then CSG, CGC, they were down 51,000, likely due to this. I mean, so this is something to think about here. They were down 51,000, but from August to September, they dropped 81,000 cards. So had they sustained even slightly, let's say this was only 40,000, half of the decline, they would have only been down 11,000, and their quarter-to-quarter comparison would have been pretty close. But this 81,000 dip from August to September hurt them pretty big, and they were down to 51,000. You got to keep in mind, July was down too over their norm in this 176,000, 171. So July was a weaker month for them, and then September was obviously way lower. So, but down 51,000. That puts PSA up 14%, SGC down 32% for the quarter. That's nearly a third of of what they had done the previous 3 months. They came in at the last 3 months. That's a lot. I mean, you think of it as a million cards. That's 320,000 cards they would lose over a million card spread. So, very interesting there. Or do it in dollars. If you think of, so let's base off of a $25 a card average cost or average price, right? So 92,000 cards times $25, that's $2.3 million that they, quote unquote, look at it however you wish, lost. $2.3 million because of this down 92,000 mark. So that's interesting. Beckett, obviously I don't have an accurate number here. And CSG, I don't know, I know their bulk pricing, but I don't know what to average it out on. SGC, I can throw it out there because, bulk is the cheapest is $23. And then private, if you send it yourself, it's $30. So you can kind of give it an average there, and just 25 is a round number. So it was easy to calculate theirs. The others, they have way different levels and everything, so it would be difficult to calculate. So anyway, overall, 3,695,000 was the graded total of the companies. Now, keep in mind that was only 2 months for Beckett in that number, which puts the entire market of all 4 companies up 97,000 cards, even without Beckett's number. Even without Beckett's 1 month number in there, 97,000 increase, obviously due to this, because if you take these, even if you split that in half, this being down would be half of this number. So, it's all supported and pumped huge by PSA. That's why I said this is obvious of how large of a share PSA has in this. I did some other numbers, and it was I look at just the TCG cards that PSA graded, and it was I can't remember the exact number, but it was a significant amount more of just TCG cards that PSA graded compared to the other 3 companies combined. Everything they did. It was a crazy number. But anyway, overall, even with Beckett's 1 month excluded, the overall number was up 2% from the previous 3 quarters. So what this kind of tells us is people are still grading cards. The sports card market is still strong from April, May, June to July, August, September. Cards are still flowing into these companies. It's shifted around, though, where they're being flowed to, obviously. You can see some of that market share has obviously went up. I don't know. I can't sit here and say that 60,000 of SGC's dip went to PSA and, 30,000 of CSG's. I can't predict that number. But obviously, the likelihood that some of those cards that the other companies lost shares on probably went up to PSA. So, anyway, let's go over here and get that off the screen there. Let's go back. This is something fun that I just tossed in here, and it's because most everybody talks sports cards, but they may not, pay attention to outside things, whether it's just if they like baseball or football or basketball. But when we look at grading numbers, we're associating it specifically with sports cards. And there's something that I've been keeping an eye on because I've been seeing a rapid rise in the TCG market. And so I wanted to just share that with you guys and have a little bit of fun with this. But TCG, in April, there was 239,700 TCG cards graded by all of the companies. That was a total of 21% of the cards graded for the month. In May, there was 393,800, so almost over 150,000 more in the month of May were graded. That was 32%, so it jumped from 21% to 32% for the month of May of the total cards graded. Then you look here, so from April, it went from 239,700. In June, there was 416,600 TCG cards graded, or 34% of the total cards graded for the month of June. So a rapid increase here, just under 200,000 card growth in 2 months for the TCG side. That put it for the 3 months at 1,050,100, or 29% of the total cards graded. So pretty interesting numbers there. If you look here, for July, we did not have Beckett's numbers, but there was 380,400 TCG. So, it was slightly under 36,000, but we didn't have Beckett's numbers in there. And it was 31% of the total number graded. For August, there was 386,700, or 33% of the total number graded. In September, there was 365,000 TCG, or 28% of the total number graded. For the last 3 months, there was 1,132,100 TCG cards graded, or 31% of the total cards graded. Key point with that is it was up 82,000 cards over the last 3 months, even missing Beckett's 1 month in there, which turned out to be 8% growth, even missing Beckett's 1 month numbers. So TCG has definitely been on the rise. Here was another fun thing. May 2021 was the first month that Gemrate shared data. They shared PSA data. And for May 2021, PSA graded 598,000 cards, of which 93,000 were TCG, which equated to 15%. 1 year later, and that's why I put it right here, May, PSA did 889,000 cards. 283,200 of them were TCG. So in 1 year, they went from 93,000 cards in a month to 283,200 cards in a month, or 32% growth, or 32% of what they did for the month. So a massive upswing. You know, if this was the number here, that would have been like 50% almost of, well, yeah, nearly 50% of the cards they graded in May 2021. So kind of interesting to see the growth of TCG, and keeping an eye on that market a little bit. But overall, you know, moral to the story here, we got some things to keep an eye on. You know, all companies were down outside of PSA, who had, you know, over 3/4 of, or not 3/4, I'm sorry, over 300,000, 375,000 gain in this quarter versus the previous 3 months. So they had a 14% growth where everybody else had a downturn. I didn't put, you know, again, I didn't put Beckett's there but the likelihood Beckett did 135,000 cards in 1 month is very unlikely. So I'm pretty sure Beckett was still going to be down on their 3-month totals. So it's going to be fun to see how these companies adjust. Do they just say, okay, you know, continue letting PSA grow and grow and grow? Does more cards over the next 3 months continue shifting from this group of 3 over into the PSA pile? It's just something we got to keep an eye on. But they obviously are a massive monster in the grading game. They're, even when the other companies are gaining momentum, they're gaining support, everything else, PSA is still the only company that has grown in their numbers while the other 3 have declined. And that says a lot. You know, I don't send cards to PSA. This isn't a PSA support video. This is simply saying you can't deny the numbers. And I don't know what the other companies are going to do with both, you know, with an East Coast, West Coast operation. It's very scary, and it's very scary for someone who supports SGC, because I keep getting asked, like, are they going to adjust pricing? Are they going to, you know, what are they doing? Are they going to make any changes? And the honest answer is I don't know. I thought they were going to a couple months ago, and I say it's scary because, you know, I've supported them for so long, and I've seen the growth. I've seen the growth in support. It's amazing what they're being able to do to get this 2 to 3 or 3 to 5 day turnaround time. But I almost wonder, is it setting themselves, like pushing themselves, backing themselves in a corner, because they're not offering, like, they're the only company out there that only has like 1 turnaround time offering. You know, the others have different levels. They can adjust their prices down because, like, you know, right now, like I mentioned, CSG is going to be doing 20% off. Well, bulk is $15, 25 card minimum, and if they do 20% off, that now knocks it to, you know, $12. And then if you have like the fancy, the higher end membership, that stacks on top of that. So you're really getting, like, I think it came out to like $10.80 a card or something like that for those folks or something. So it's like, it's real scary because the turnaround time is a great thing, but we know that people, you know, they want cost. They want the better price, right? I thought about something to compare it to, and it's like the quick turnaround time is great. But if you go to UPS, and then you go to FedEx, and then you go to the USPS, and one of them is offering you standard shipping of like 5 days, and one of them's offering you, and then the next level is like a 2-day shipping for priority, and then the next one is express at 1 day overnight shipping. And then you go to FedEx and you got the same options, right? But then say you went to the USPS and they're like, nope, you can only ship overnight. You're going to be pissed. Like, you're going to go back to either FedEx or UPS, and whichever one then is like giving you the best bang for your buck, because you're essentially being put into this square that you have to pay for express service. And I'm wondering if some folks aren't like, 92,000 card loss in 3 months. And I actually went back and looked at data. It was actually in the end of June. I looked at our orders, our submissions, and it was the end of June when SGC started going to the 3 to 5 day turnaround thing. It was like right before the National and all that. Before that, they were doing a 10 to 12 day turnaround, and their numbers were up in that 90 plus thousand. That they hit that 100,000 mark, and that was on the 10 to 12 day. And then when they went to that 3 to 5, it's kind of like, okay, the numbers dipped a lot, right? And they've sustained back at the 75,000 mark. And I get maybe they're comfortable with that on, their revenue stream, but it's not about whether or not they're making money or they can pay their bills or, whatever. Obviously, there's 70,000 cards coming in the building, so people are still sending them cards. It's more about the concern with if somebody else flips the switch, and like if PSA's already gained 377,000 over this past quarter, and September you look there, 1,083,000 cards. That's more than any month of the past 6 months. If they adjust that switch and say, okay, we can do bulk at $15, well then that 2 to 3 day turnaround time, as great as it is, you're going to wind up losing even more. And then that's when it becomes a concern for me, because how long, like where can the numbers dip to where they can sustain? And I don't want to see them lose momentum. I don't want to see them, get to where the numbers decline to where they can't sustain. I don't know if this is a thing where the reaction of like the $22 price for PSA was like, okay, well, we can stay at 23. That's, it's only $1. People will still send to us. I don't know what it is right now. I've been trying to actually brattle my brain and figure this out. But, again, PSA did $18 special. Becca did a 20% off for a month. CSG is doing a 20% off for a month. They all have multiple levels of service. In fact, outside of Beckett being at $25 for their lowest option, SGC is also like the highest there with only $23 being their lowest option. So it's just many things in there that I'm just not understanding, I guess. And I really hope that their plan works, because I don't want to see them lose any momentum or anything. And they did lose 32%, which is also very concerning. So I know some people out there, I privately messaged Retro Hoops because he did his little thing, his post or short or whatever you call it, on pricing, and said that SGC didn't need to change their price. I know other people have defended saying SGC doesn't need to change their price. But I also did polls, and I seen people that they said they want the price change. I get messages all the time. I wish I could I don't want to put people's names out there, but I wish I could show all the text messages and all the private messages and all that I get, comments on videos and everything else I get asking, because I don't know. I thought it was going to be in July, and it didn't happen. So anyway, I love the guys down there. This isn't to poo-poo on SGC or praise PSA. It was just to share numbers. But I know people are going to ask me, because it's a grading video and people know I use SGC. So just wanted to discuss it a bit and, lay out some of my confusion. So anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful Sunday evening. Hope your football teams all win. And as always, guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and until the next video, I'm out.